So if you want to get into three-poi stuff, one thing to note is that it will never ever feel balanced. So if you ever get a slight cringe from the fact that you can do some really cool move, like maybe a gunslinger with one hand and then you have to do regular anti-spins with the other hand, and that just irks at you until you sit there and you practice the gunslinger with the other hand, and then you can do them with both hands, then bad news. You're going to make that far, far worse, because you're going to have this right hand that does all of the one-handed stuff, or maybe a left hand, I don't know, you seem to be right-handed, and it's going to always feel unbalanced, like your left hand is this useless hand that just, I don't know, is subservient to your master right hand that learns all the cool atomic three-poi stuff. Another thing about three-poi or two-poi in one hand is you learn a whole lot about the three-dimensionality of poi. So much of what we think about, like, let's take a butterfly for instance. We think, okay, these are on the same plane because they look like they are, right? They're sitting there and they're moving together almost on the same plane, and when viewed from the front, it definitely looks like you're just sort of making this wall of circles in front of you. And but the truth is that there's actually a good bit of three-dimensionality to it. So if you take it and you look at it from the side, you can see I'm really making it have a three-dimensional state to it, but it's actually on two different planes that happen to be at angles with each other. And you can do some fun stuff with this. For instance, you can do some fun like atomic stuff, which is essentially the same thing. This right here is a split time opposite, which looks, it's just two cat eyes. But if you take that split time opposite and turn it into an atomic where they're at 90-degree angles, then it feels approximately the same because it's essentially the same move. And the same thing goes for two-poi one-hand stuff, where you can do something like a one-handed butterfly or a split time opposite one-handed butterfly, and they look from the front like it's all on the same plane, but the truth is that it's actually an atomic. And I don't know if you can really see this, but this one is spinning along this plane, while this one is spinning along this plane. And it's exactly the same move as a one-handed butterfly, but with a lot less motion forcing them onto the same plane. And so understanding that about one-handed poi stuff is crucial to you understanding three-poi stuff. So I noticed that you already have the Superman, which is good. That's a good fundamental first move to learn how to get into three-poi stuff. A good place to go from this is something called the Fantastic Four. And this right here it's very similar in nature to the Superman, to where you're bouncing off of your body, and it's actually got this fun little pattern that's really fun to just kind of flow into, and you can go in and out of Superman from it. You can even go to pinky led stuff if you come in on the other side, but the way that you get into the the Fantastic Four, is you start with a Superman, and instead of trying to take this poi and go all the way over to the other side, you take it and you put it down in between your legs. And then when it goes down in between your legs, The first few times you'll have to really pull it out of there, and you just kind of let your hand, just let the poi go where they want to go, and they'll go in the right place too. Like, just pull it out of there, and they'll go. And then you try to catch the one that comes around on this backside, and let it catch on your leg, while this one goes in between the leg, and do the same thing, same pull out move on the other side. Pull out, pull out. And then as you practice that, you want to try to get as efficient with your movements as possible. The smallest movements that continue those bounces in the way that you want to do them. And you can see how little my hand is moving. And that slow, deliberate, very small movement practice is going to be crucial to doing things later on. So that's the Fantastic Four. Another one that I practice is something called the Kryptonite. And the Kryptonite is where you take that same motion, starting with your navel, moving up to the left and out, but all simultaneously. And then moving over to the right hand side and then pulling it back to your navel, and that's that 3-pedal buzzsaw that I showed you in another video. And you're actually taking the Superman and you're going up, back, and in. Up, back, and in. And you can do it on the other side too. Practice on both sides. And you're going to find that it actually feels a little bit something along the lines of a 3-beat weave. That's because it's the same thing, it's just out. And it'll feel wild and out of control the first time you do it, and it is kind of wild and out of control. And then you want to practice doing it slower, more control. Practice one-handed butterflies, and the way that I recommend doing that is putting your arm out at a 90-degree angle and practice just spinning one up here, and then try to keep on spinning it in a way that eventually gets the bottom one spinning until they are each making one beat, one above your hand, one below your hand, just like that right there. That's the plainer as I can make it, and then bounce. And that bounce is going to lead you to this kind of wrist hand rotation movement, and you'll get to the point where that just becomes like a thing that's ingrained in your head. It's just this rotational movement. I don't need to bounce my arm anymore. I can actually just continue doing this just with that rotational movement of my wrist, and that's crucial to, you know, like one-handed Mercedes, that sort of thing. But you can bring it out and you can do it over here. You can do it over on this side, and you can do it from a Fantastic Four on either side. And then the other thing that I would start practicing after you get done with that is pinky led stuff. So instead of having your thumb lead the weave, you can actually let your pinky lead the weave. And that's going to open up things in terms of possibilities. So right now I'm thumb led, and then I can go into a Fantastic Four. So thumb led, Fantastic Four. All right, one more time. Thumb led, Fantastic Four, pinky led. And that pinky led is going to feel really, really different, but it's super helpful to future pursuits because you're going to be doing all sorts of weird bounces and stuff like that. Anything else is actually kind of cheating. So things like once you get a 2-beat weave, and this is the exact same thing as the gunslinger. This is called a meteor fountain, I think, and it's where you take 2 poi and you sit there and do this, and then all you have to do is just one anti-spin with your other hand, and it just looks awesome. But it's really, this is the only hand that's doing anything complex. This hand's over just doing a regular anti-spin. But actually getting that meteor fountain with one hand is kind of difficult, but hopefully that gives you some foundational stuff to go from, and then eventually you'll start getting into things like you take that Superman and you'll have a third poi, and you'll do like a 2-beat weave, and then you'll start finding stuff out like you can actually do the Superman in 3 beats. So instead of having one rotation on either side of you, you can have 2 rotations on either side of you, and that right there will be fundamental to you doing 3-beat weave Superman. So instead of 2-beat weave, you can do a 3-beat weave Superman, and that's super fun when you do it in whatever.